there was a 6-year-old girl only days ago in a masjid, in a mosque, who was taken by 10 members of the Rapid Support Forces, a pro-government militia in Sudan, led by Hamid, our vice president, and known as the Janjaweed, taken turns on by 10 men as they raped her inside the mosque.
Is your voice being heard in Sudan because so many people are getting killed?
No, in Sudan because they are not listening, they are deaf.
We don't deserve to cry.
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 They don't deserve to die.
They don't deserve to die.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is a gathering of the Sudanese people in the UK. We are gathering here to protest against what is happening in the Sudan.
Tell me, what's it like back home in Sudan for your family?
Currently, my family are in hiding.
Oh, you're a talker?
I'm a big talker, yes.
Yeah, so why are you down here today, madam?
We are protesting the genocide and the war and what is happening in our capital in Sudan. Our young people are being killed. They are being actually completely destroyed and obliterated by a militia that is not even made of Sudanese people.
But how long can people continue civil disobedience?
Well, this is the problem. This is the nation. But from what I see, the system is already down. The country is already down. So,
what gives you the impression the country is down? And the reason I'm asking you that question, I was in Sudan 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and being there, I was in Khartoum. I went to the military site. I saw millions of people protesting.
Yes.
But the country is continuing as normal.
Let me first, as a person who came recently from Sudan before the massacre on Monday, I came here. So I was in detention. I was in the square around the headquarters. I want first to say to you a word of thanks.
They don't deserve to die.
They don't deserve to die.
We don't deserve to cry.
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 UK people, action now.
UK people, action now.
UK people, action now.
UK people, action now.
If you want to know how Hamid and the Rapid Support Forces stopped being the Janjaweed and became the Rapid Support Forces, you only need to ask the European Union. You need to ask Theresa May.
When again from StreetCam documentary coming to you live and direct from the Sudanese protest outside of Downing Street, where there are literally hundreds and hundreds of Sudanese people demonstrating because they are fed up with the regime in Sudan.
It's not normal, no matter how much you normalize it for yourself. That if you're just walking down the street like my friends who are in what Egyptians would call a tuk-tuk, in Sudan they call a rickshaw, it's a small vehicle. Just driving down the street, they were taken out of their cars, they were beaten, their heads were shaven, and they were arrested and kept in prison for days. That's not fair. And no matter how much in your head you come to believe that it's normal from how common it's become, it's not. In my university, we had the security of the country come in and beat our students. They came in and they threw tear gas into our campus. In the one place that we could find safe, aside from our homes, they came and they made us extremely unsafe in our own environments. It's not fair that people should be subjected to this terror for asking for just three things: freedom, peace, and justice. Hurriya, salam, wa adala is all they ever asked for. These are fundamental human rights. And I thank everyone who came out today, because when you're standing here, you're not just standing for Sudan, you're not just standing for the Sudanese people, you're not just standing against Burhan Hemeti, the military council. You're standing for human rights. You're standing for the right to be able, like all of you people standing here, to protest for what you believe in, to stand for what you believe in. For if you have an opinion, to be able to stand and claim it in front of people, and to have people stand with you without the threat of being shot down or suffocated or chased into your homes, burned alive or raped. There was a 6-year-old girl only days ago in a masjid, in a mosque, who was taken by 10 members of the Rapid Support Forces, a pro-government militia in Sudan, led by Hemeti, our vice president, and known as the Janjaweed, taken turns on by 10 men as they raped her inside the mosque. As the men watched and they asked them, they begged them to stop. They said, in the name of God, please stop. Please stop hurting her. She's 6 years old. They said, if your God came to me today, if your God was standing in front of me, I would continue to do what I'm doing.
Stop the violence in Sudan!
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 We're here to raise awareness. We're here to make sure the world knows that the crimes that happen on the other side of the ocean are not fair. We're here to tell people that it's not only when a cathedral sets on fire in France that you should pay attention. We're here to tell people that human lives are more valuable than whatever property you have in the world that you've given all of the news its attention to. That 6-year-old girl didn't deserve that. That the 5-year-old boy that was shot in his head didn't deserve that. That all of the people, the thousands of people in prison today don't deserve it. That the people in their universities who are beaten and threatened to be raped, including my best friend, in a Thatcher, in the big pickup trucks, on her way to detention, for not committing any crime, for solely being inside her university campus, told by the men in the Thatcher that they want 4. There are so many women sat inside the pickup truck, they said each of them wants 4. To marry, to look after, they want to rape them. There are so many women that I know who have been gang raped in prison cells. For what crime? For what crime? There is nowhere in the world, if you kill people, that you will get gang raped, let alone if you stay in a university campus alone.
Stop abusing women in Sudan!
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 Stop raping 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 women in Sudan!
So we need you guys, not just now, we need you to post it. The fact that you're here. We need you to tell everyone that you're here. We need more people to come. This is a crime against humanity.
Peace and justice for Sudan!
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 Stop killing in Sudan!
Stop killing in Sudan!
Stop torture in Sudan!
Stop torture in Sudan!
Stop rape in Sudan!
Stop rape in Sudan!
Stop killing in Sudan!
Stop killing in Sudan!
Stop rape in Sudan!
Stop rape in Sudan!
Stop torture in Sudan!
Stop torture in Sudan!
Peace and justice for Sudanese!
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 Free political detainees!
Free political detainees!
Free political detainees!
Free political detainees!
They don't deserve to die!
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 We don't deserve to cry!
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 I want to tell you why the regional powers and the reactionaries, the counter-revolutionaries in the Sudan are afraid of our revolution. This is a different revolution. I am old enough. I lived 1964 and 1985. This is a different revolution. This is a genuine and radical revolution led by the youth and women. And it is not just about toppling al-Bashir or the Islamists. It is about changing the economics and the social relations in the Sudan. I was there around the headquarters, and I saw how young women and young men are making the history, making new relations between genders, making a sort of communal life, all their money together, all their food together. This is a different revolution, and it wants to change the system. What the military wants is to keep the system. They got rid of al-Bashir and the Islamists, and they want to keep the system because they are not genuine, because they are...
Our women are leading this life.
Because they are puppets of the three countries, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Emirates. Both Burhan and Hemeti are linked to the Emirates through their presence in Yemen as leaders of the soldiers there. This TMC, Transitional Military Council, is just a puppet of a foreign force. And Sudanese people always fight their independence, for their independent decision, and for their positive, neutral position in international politics. They don't want to be part of this camp or that camp.
My speech is directed to the British public, is directed to the UK government and to the EU. What is happening at the moment, they have to know the facts. There is a humanitarian crisis in Sudan. Rescue and medical care was prevented from those who were injured. People were left dying in the sit-in. There is invasion of the hospitals to prevent medical care. There is torture and detention of doctors. This is a human rights violation. We need safe shelter, we need access for health care, we need access for medication and drugs, for food and water. As a unionist, I am very concerned that my colleagues are detained prior to the civil disobedience and to the strike. These are all efforts to clash and demolish our peaceful resistance. As Sudanese, I'm very, very proud of the peaceful, non-violent resistance in Sudan. We have given the whole world an example of how you will fight for your right peacefully. Therefore, we want them to paralyze this transitional military council now. We want them just to mediate and get our legitimate request applied. We want the Janjaweed to be labeled as a terrorism group. أبيض قلبي حليب إنسان من دارفور أبيض قلبه حليب زي ريحة الريفتور دم الشهيد والطيب زي ريحة الريفتور دم الشهيد والطيب والله ما نقبل يحكمنا دعم سريع يحتال لو يستهبل ويملانا بالترويع والله ما نقبل يحكمنا دعم سريع يحتال لو يستهبل يملانا بالترويع لازم نرد الصاع مردود كمان صاعين لازم نرد الصاع مردود كمان صاعين حق الشهيد ما ضاع حق الشهيد ما ضاع بنجيبكم ردعين حق الشهيد ما ضاع بنجيبكم ردعين حق الشهيد ما ضاع بنجيبكم ردعين حق الشهيد ما ضاع بنجيبكم ردعين
suddenly the Janjaweed decided to actually invade the sit-in area or the sit-in square in front of the headquarters of the army and killing peaceful people, 4 o'clock in the morning. We don't know how many people died now. So far it's an approximate 108 people. And they start terrorizing everybody, shooting young people and stolen the area, basically. That wasn't expected, and the day was before the last day of Ramadan.
Do you think the military council is going to hand over power?
It has to. It's got no choice. It's got no choice at all. It has to. That's why we're here, and we're going to be here until he hands over to civilians. And I'm sure you heard there's a civil disobedience starting from tomorrow.
Yeah.
We won't give in. Until we see our people win. We won't give up, we won't give in. Until we see our people win. We won't give up, we won't give in. Until we see our people win. Peace and justice for Sudan. 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 Stop killing in Sudan. Stop killing in Sudan.
Tell me, I was in Sudan 4 weeks ago in Khartoum, so I spent 5 days there, so I experienced the uprising for myself. How was it for you living there and then having to leave and come here to London?
I didn't leave because of the problems. My siblings did to arrive this morning. So my experience was something that I genuinely enjoyed, this revolution. It was painful. It put people through a lot. I know people who have passed away. They've sacrificed their lives for this. It means a lot to me. So no matter what it takes for us to achieve a civilian government, this revolution isn't going to stop until we achieve what we came for.
What's been happening in Sudan this week with so many people being killed and bodies found in the Nile?
It's so disgusting. What happened is so disgusting. We can't accept something like that. They're killing people in 29 of Ramadan, and that's very bad in Sudan. And we throw people on the Niles. More than 100 people they killed, and more than 750 the injured. It's not good. It's happening.
But why do you think it's taking place?
Because they think we are winning. That's why we are winning always. That's why they think they are weak. That's why they try to make us weak, but we are not weak. We are more stronger now.
So tell me, what's it like back in Sudan with the internet now cut off?
There is no internet, nothing, but we try to, wherever we got any resource, to make them connect with all the world. We try. People from America, people from UK, they try to help to make them connect. Whatever you find, anything, any way to make them connect, to hear them, we are happy to support.
Thank you very much, sir.
He is killing our young people, throwing their bodies into the Nile.
So why are the young people in Sudan rising up and fighting against the existing regime when the older people haven't done anything yet?
Well, the young people are actually fighting against injustice, right? What's happening? We were under a rule of a dictator for 30 years. Those people grew up under the reverse that dictatorship. And what they've decided to do is that saying enough is enough. We want democracy. We actually want to have fairness and justice within our society.
Thank you, ma'am. Today?
Well, Hameti now is wishing if people now going back to the square they were standing by and they were sitting by. Now that everyone in the world, everyone in the country, they're hating him and they want him out. So he wish if the people will come gather in the same square that he used to want him to be out.
But how long do you think it's going to take to get him out? Because they're not moving, they're killing.
He did his own grave. Well, it will take a long time. But if people gather together and they will start this civil disobedience, they'll start to be just staying at home. So, because he's running a militias, these are not, this is not an army, these are militias. So if they don't pay them, they will not go with him. So if people stay at home and they're not running the country, they're not paying taxes, they're not doing nothing. So they're the same militias, so that who is controlling them, they will start to be away from the country. They will go back to Chad, they will go back to Mali, they will go where they're coming from.
But how long can people continue civil disobedience?
Well, this is the problem, this is the nation. But from what I see, the system is already down. The country is already down, so...
What gives you the impression the country is down? And the reason I'm asking you that question, I was in Sudan 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and being there, I was in Khartoum, I went to the military site, I saw millions of people protesting, but the country is continuing as normal.
Well, this is according to you, but the same thing. But you have to know this. But there was an argument that any civilian disobedience will success or not. The same thing. The main aim of the civil disobedience is to stop the country from growing or for producing. At the same time, there's 80% of everything we need from Sudan is coming from outside the country. So the country is already down, and everyone who wants to invest in this 20%, that there will be no hope, or there will be not. He will not be insecure to do any business there.
But I'm gonna contradict what you're saying.
Okay.
When I was in Sudan, one thing that shocked me was that I have never seen so many futuristic buildings in my life. I have seen so many brand new buildings going up. So money's been invested.
Well, it's not. It doesn't need to be invested, because you have to understand. It's like since 1997, this is sanctions against the country, against the people that taking this money. So for them, this money, they can't put it in banks because Sudan had been outside from the bank. So the only thing that they can do with the money that they took from the oil that they have produced and all this is just to build buildings. So this is the only way to put it.
So you was frightening me just now, and that is a very good response. And I thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So are you in fear for those who are left back home?
Yes, very much in fear. I'm constantly trying to check up on them, and the internet is down, so it's really hard to keep in contact with them. So every single Sudanese person who's not in Sudan is completely in fear for their family and their friends in Sudan. And even the people there are in fear for their lives.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you think about the protests which is happening in London to raise awareness about the Sudanese issues?
I'm really proud. I'm really, really happy about the turnout. There's hundreds of people here. People, not only Sudanese, of all ethnicities. There's Arabs, there's English people, there's Europeans. So I'm really happy that we're spreading awareness, and the strength of the youth of Sudan have really, really done this. And I'm really happy about that.
We stand with you in this country, those of us who are activists in trade unions, like myself, in the student movement. We send you our solidarity and our greetings. I also have a message that I would like to talk about in relation to the responsibility of my government, even if it's a government without a head at the moment, doesn't seem to be able to organise anything. They have, for the last several years, been empowering the very militias that are killing people on the streets of Sudan today. Through the Khartoum process, which is an externalisation of the European Union's migration controls, they have given power to the likes of General Hemeti in order to police so-called illegal migration from Sudan. If you want to know how Hemeti and the Rapid Support Forces stopped being the Janjaweed and became the Rapid Support Forces, you only need to ask the European Union. You need to ask Theresa May. You need to ask the British government what happened in those intervening periods. And then you also have to ask the Saudi regime, the repressive monarchy in Saudi Arabia, which has deployed, as my sister said, troops from Sudan in order to kill and murder on their behalf in Yemen. You have to ask the Emirati leaders who are supplying weapons to the Rapid Support Forces. You have to ask General Sisi in Egypt, whose advice Burhan sought last week when he went there to find out, how do I abort a revolution? How do I carry out counter-revolutionary massacres? Well, he went to the person who's an expert, to Sisi, who murdered 1,000 people in a single day at Rabat and at Trafalgar Square in 2013. And in case any of them forget, we were there protesting about that. We were there when Sisi came to London in 2015 and met with our government in there, in Downing Street. We don't forget. That's why we are organising in solidarity with the revolution in Sudan.
As we can tell, the people of Sudan, they're not going to be giving up. They are down here every Saturday protesting, and this is the second time that they've been in front of Downing Street. The last time there was about 5,000-6,000 people, but that was a national event. But today, I estimate there must be a couple of thousand people down here. Let's listen to them. As normal, they are singing. They want regime change. Let's hear. But one thing we can say about the Sudanese people is that they're not quiet. They will always come out and they will protest, and then will let their voices be heard. Don't forget that if you have an issue that you would like StreetCam documentary to raise awareness about, please contact the channel at streetcamdocumentary@gmail.com.